Hi, my name is Megan. Welcome back to Round the Cauldron. Today's video is another book review. We are going to be looking at the Grimoire Journal that was written by Paige Vanderbeck, also known as the Fat Feminist Witch, host of the podcast by the same name. I do need to mention before we move further into the review that I received the digital copy of this book for free in exchange for a review. So I have the book pulled up here on my phone and we can go ahead and take a look at it. This is the cover. I really like the colors and the layout of the cover, and it is a theme that plays throughout the entire book. The aesthetic really fits well together in each of the sections. Now, I do need to say that this book is not a Wicca 101. It is not a how to cast spells or how to be a witch. This book is meant to be a companion, pretty much, to your practice, especially if you're newer to the practice. I remember being a new witch, a new Wiccan specifically, and reading all of the books about keeping a book of shadows and the different things that I should be writing about. But it was never really laid out for me, I guess, on what the Book of Shadows should look like and what you should put in it, or if there are even any restrictions at all. This book is a guide to you to use alongside your studies and just your practice in general. So this is not a Wicca 101 book. This is not a book that's going to teach you any theology or philosophy of any sort of witchcraft practice. It is also assumed that you have at least some background knowledge about witchcraft before you move into using this book. This is not something that I would recommend that you just pick up and run with if you don't already have any sort of witchcraft knowledge under your belt. As you go through the book, there are different sections for you to fill out, and you can see the one I have up here on the screen says this grimoire belongs to, and it's a place for you to fill in your name. I love the illustrations in this workbook. Then if you keep going, you get to the table of contents. It gives you a breakdown of what the book is going to contain. The bulk of the book that is broken down into 4 sections, and these are summon your spells, record your rituals, relish your recipes, and make your magic. And each one is a different subject, so to say. My only issue with this book, and it's not necessarily it's an issue, it's just something that I wish had more of an explanation, is there are several instances in the book in different recipes and spells and topics where Paige talks about those specific things being traditionally associated with hoodoo. Now, I am not an expert on African traditional religions or any belief system that comes from Africa and traditionally Black practices. I have seen conflicting sources saying that hoodoo is open, then also conflicting sources saying hoodoo is closed, and then some are just saying that hoodoo is a term that is used for a specific type of folk magic. And I don't know what the answer is to that. So my only issue with that in this book is that there was not more of an explanation. There are some sources in the end of the book where you can see where that information came from. So there are places for me to go and explore a little further. This is also one of the reasons why I don't recommend that just any beginner who has no prior knowledge just pick it up and run with it, because you kind of have to know that. And I don't 100% know whether or not hoodoo is considered closed or open or what. I'm not sure. If you have the answer to that question and you feel okay doing so, can you let me know in the comments below? And if you have any sources, I'd love to hear them so I can add them to the description and pin them to the comment section. Other than that, I really think this book is helpful for anyone who is looking to build their grimoire and who needs sort of a foundation or like an outline so that they know where to start. This is especially helpful for anyone who is a solitary practitioner who doesn't really have a coven or a priest or a priestess to go to and ask those questions. So if we look at the first section of summoning your spells, this section is basically connecting you to your own intuition and your own intention. There are so many different prompts in this section that are there to help you uncover why you're doing what you're doing and how you feel about certain things. For example, this very first one, Welcome to Witchery, it says to think mindfully about what brought you to witchcraft and what you hope to gain in incorporating writing into your spiritual practice. Perhaps you're seeking fame and fortune or true love, or exploring new ways to engage with your religion or spiritual path. Are you looking to build up a stockpile of amazing spells made just for you? Do you want to be able to teach and inspire others? Whatever it is, write it in the space below. As you work through this grimoire, revisit this intention to remind yourself of what kicked off this journey and how far you've come. That's a great self-reflection exercise, and if you've been here for a while, you will know that I am a big believer in asking yourself why you do things the way you do, why you're attracted to certain practices, why you don't like other practices. And I really appreciate that Paige included a lot of self-reflection in these journal prompts, because if you don't understand why you're doing things the way you're doing or why you feel a certain way, I think it can hinder your spiritual growth. There are also different spells in this book. For example, this one is roses are red, violets are blue, and it's a love spell, but it's not. So it says that some of the most powerful spells you can craft for yourself revolve around love, lust, and relationships. And it gives you the spell and tells you what to do, but then it also tells you to reflect on the spell and how you feel about it and what happened. And that's a very large part of my practice, is reflecting on what I did and whether or not it was effective. I think that's really great for anyone to learn how to do or to incorporate into their practice so that they can begin to see patterns and figure out what works for them and what doesn't. Also scattered throughout the book are things like this table here that is in, I think it's the second section, Record Your Rituals. And it says Everyday Magic. This is a table of common correspondences for the days of the week. Got planet, element, colors, stones, herbs, and quote-unquote vibes. So I guess that is the subject matter that the particular day is associated with, if that makes any sense. So for example, Monday, the vibe is psychic, dreamy, restful, and deep. So there's information like this scattered throughout the book that can be very helpful for someone that really doesn't know where to go and who is seeing that, the correspondences and the different information that is presented in a lot of witchcraft or Wicca 101 books tends to be the same. On this same note, though, there is a section in here on, I think it's, what page did I write it down on? Page 60 in my digital version. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so maybe it is page 60 of the book. There it is, Savor the Sabbats. So in this whole section, it talks about, your own correspondences and how you feel about different things. And on page 60 is a section called Savor the Sabbats, and it wants you to draw or color your own Sabbat associations into the wheel of the year. I have talked on several occasions about my views on correspondences and how they can be very personal, and in some cases they should be personal. And so I really appreciate that Paige included this section in her book so that we can see that some things can and should be personal to your practice specifically. The next section is called Relish Your Recipes, and it includes several different recipes as far as kitchen witchery and making magical oils and balms. But what I'm seeing in each section is For example, this one here, a magical oil blend for anointing and blessing. It gives you the instructions and the ingredients that you need, but then it tells you to make your own. And it says to think about the smell, how it feels on your skin, and the way that you might use it. Create recipes for other oil blends you can see yourself using in your practice. And it gives you this whole space to write out your intention, pick your carrier oil, your scent profile, and the essential oils that you want to go with it. So it's sort of like, here is an example of how to do this thing. Now, here is the space for you to do the thing on your own, which I really, really like in workbooks like this. Now, the last section of the book is called Make Your Magic, and it centers around using different tools like candles and crystals and stones in your practice. But the very first thing that it has you do is to grab your favorite crystal and light a candle featuring a scent that resonates with you, and then basically to write about it. What makes it speak to you? Why do you like it? What don't you like about it? So again, coming back with the theme of self-reflection, which is vital, in my opinion, to growing your practice and understanding yourself. Now, the very last thing that I want to mention about this book is the information at the end. So after you get through those 4 sections, there are several pages of different correspondences and common things that you would find pretty much everywhere. So it says, "Go on ye witchy way," which I think is just adorable. But you've got a magical associations guide of colors, herbs and oils, stones and crystals, and then you have resources. So you've got resources here for candles, and I'm assuming that these are all either resources that Paige has personal experience with or that they would just generally recommend. You got Madame Pamita's Parlor of Wonders. There are also herbs, oils, and plants. And then this section here really surprised me. And it is about ethically sourced crystals. I don't have the professional experience to talk about the ethical sourcing of crystals, but I do know that it is a large issue in our community. Just like any other sort of mining for the rest of the world, our crystals have to be dug up somewhere. And I'm going to leave a link in the description to Kat Borealis, who has the Borealis Meditation podcast. I don't know if the episode will have come out by the time this video comes out, but Kat planned or has already done an episode on ethical crystal mining or ethical crystals in witchcraft. I'm not entirely sure what the whole subject is because at the point of recording, it hasn't come out yet. But I will leave a link in the description to Kat's podcast because it is a well of information that also comes from a scientific perspective because of Kat's line of work. Then you also get into the references. So there are several references, which I appreciate, and then the quote sources. And just randomly, I like the quotes that Paige included in her workbook, or in the book. I keep calling it a workbook. I'm sorry. I like the quotes that she included in her book because they didn't all come from witchcraft sources. Like the last source here is from a book by Nora Roberts, who is definitely not a witchcraft author. So that's it. Final thoughts. I mean, I would definitely recommend this book as a complement to anyone's practice that is just beginning or who needs a little help with their organization of their Book of Shadows or their grimoire. I don't know necessarily if it would benefit anyone who has been practicing for a while. It might, because I think it is always good for people to practice self-reflection. Plus, it has some really good recipes inside. So overall, definitely recommend this book. I really enjoyed the way that it was laid out. I enjoyed the aesthetic of it. The cover was just beautiful. I wish I had a physical copy. I'll probably pick up a physical copy for myself eventually. I just don't have one right now. Like I said earlier, my only concern is the mention of hoodoo without really an explanation of what hoodoo is. But again, I don't know enough about hoodoo and African traditional religions to speak on it. And I'm not even gonna try. If you have a book that you'd like to see me review, go ahead and leave it in the comments below, send me an email, or reach out to me on social media and I'll see what I can do. I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much for all of your support. And if you'd like to join me over on Patreon, you can do that at patreon.com/roundthecauldron, where you can get patron exclusive perks and content. And I will talk to you soon.